Hey everyone, this is TechCrunch Live. I'm Matt Burns. At TechCrunch Live, we help founders build better venture-backed businesses. And every week, I have a conversation with a founder and investor, and we talk through the founder's company. But 9 times out of 10, that founder is actually a co-founder and didn't build the company themselves. And today, we're going to talk about co-founders, their roles, their duties, and how co-founders can protect their financial interests in the companies they help found. We have 2 great speakers today, too. They know this topic well. Tanis Jorge co-founded Truliu and now runs the Co-Founders Hub. It's a service dedicated to help founders identify their needs and then find a co-founder to fill that need. And then we have David Blumberg of course, Blumberg Capital, who was one of Truliu's first investors and put money in it every round. The importance of a co-founder is often lost in history. A good co-founder should be someone who has different skills than the other founders. Maybe you're good at coding and you need somebody with business management, or maybe a good co-founder is someone who can help manage the emotional baggage that comes along with starting a company. David brings a unique perspective to this conversation too. He's a prolific investor, and he can speak to VC's point of view on having multiple founding partners in a startup. As I understand it, venture capitalists often view companies founded by complementary co-founders as less risky and more likely to succeed. So there's a lot to talk about in the next 25 minutes, but I want questions from you too. So please jump into Hopin. There should be a link in Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. And if you drop some questions in the Q&A, I'll be sure to ask those at the end. Lastly, before we get into the interview, I have to talk about TechCrunch Early Stage. This event is held in Boston. It's on April 20th, and it's a huge in-person founders-only event where we have roundtables, Q&As, co-founder discovery, and also pitch deck teardowns. There's so much more to this event. I think it's the best one we do. We put on some good events, and I really like Early Stage. Once again, it's April 20th in Boston. So with that, let's talk about co-founders. Tanis, David, thanks for being here.
Hi, Matthew. Thank you.
Hey there. So
Hey here.
Tanis, let's start with you. We need to start about Truliu. How did you land there, and what was your role?
Yeah, for sure. So back in 2011, Stephen, my co-founder, and I had actually just finished the acquisition of our previous company, and we had another idea. And Stephen decided that the best place to kind of head out and do this was in Silicon Valley. And so that's where he headed off to, was to Sunnyvale and to the Plug and Play accelerator there. And we began our journey there in the Valley.
What were the early days like, and how did you help build the company?
So it was interesting because as co-founders, especially where we understood the importance of actually starting our journey off in the Valley, we had to decide, okay, who's going to be where, who's going to do what roles. And at that point, we really looked at life stage. I had 2 kids under 2 when we started Truliu, and Stephen was definitely much more flexible and able to actually head down to the Valley to do that. So because of that, it definitely assigned our roles, and it became who was going to be that front-facing person who was really going to be that champion for the business in, say, the fundraising size and the R&D, whereas I was back in Vancouver then managing our small team. And so from that is sort of how our roles evolved and became what they were eventually throughout the whole business. And I think that happens for a lot of co-founders as well. So they kind of fall into their roles based on some sort of external circumstance that puts it into place.
Now, David, we have talked to you as well. So how did you get involved in Truliu?
So I had been a regular coach, advisor, I don't know the exact term, at Plug and Play. And I used to go down and give VC advice to many founders and be on panels and judging of pitch contests and so on. And as part of that, they would often organize a group of companies that would be ready to meet with me the day I was down visiting. So one bright day, I got to meet Tanis and Steve. I can't remember if I met both of you the first time or if it was one of you, and then the second time.
Stephen first, yeah, Stephen first.
And then you flew down another time. And I was struck by a few things. One, I liked their idea because the internet, this is back, you got to go a decade ago, so it's a totally different world. But internet identity was not really worked out very well. And obviously Facebook at that time, not Meta anymore, but it was Facebook, was just making a huge splash, and many social media companies were, and a huge proliferation of new data was surfacing, new social graphs to know who you were connected to. And from that graph, one could derive, or at least the theory was, one could derive a lot of information about you, your identity, your validity, your verifiability, etc. And so that was their idea. Now, I thought that was a bright, interesting idea, very promising, because just the usage rates were rising so quickly on social media. However, they also had this wonderful foundation. Both of them had done 3 companies together successfully in the past, but they had sold them into the credit bureau industry. So they understood the who, the what, the why, the how, and they didn't kill each other in the process. So I thought that was a relatively lower risk set of circumstances. So those were 2 things. The area, the theme was attractive, and the team was tested.
Yeah, that's good advice. Now, Tanis, you worked with Steve. Is Steve Munford, right? That's who.
Yeah, actually, no. Steve Mumford is our current CEO. Stephen Ufford my co-founder. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who was CEO up until, I guess, 2020.
And so you guys worked on multiple startups together.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Stephen and I, we actually met each other in high school. So started our first business just out of high school. So we built 3 companies over a decade, all successfully managed to exit them all. So we really had that foundation as friends on we really were able to, complement each other in our skill sets.
So, I mean, if you guys went back to high school, that's the rare edge case.
Yeah.
And I can't tell our attendees to go back to high school and find a co-founder. I needed to give them a resource.
I don't want to either.
but if I may, most of the skills you learned in your life, you learned in high school or thereabouts. So I think it's a very good exercise, just a mental exercise. Who are the people at high school that you'd want to found a company with? It's a pretty interesting intellectual exercise, and the ones who are trustworthy, the ones who are jerks. Maybe they've grown up a little bit, hopefully so. But it's a big catchment basin of society. If you went to an average public high school that I did, there were the brilliant ones, and there were the idiots, and there were the jerks, and there were the saints, and there was, it was a very interesting place to select your friends. And then sometimes your friends are not necessarily who you'd want to found a company with, but who those people were too.
Yeah, of course. So what kind of qualities, David, do you see makes for a good complementary co-founders?
Yeah. Okay. Well, complementary depends on which, let's say A and B. So if A is very technical, hopefully B has some more of the business and operational abilities. If one has a natural extroverted personality and can sell, maybe the other one is the detail-oriented, diligent, picker up of the pieces when they fall on the floor. Sometimes one has language skills that the other doesn't have. That's important. We deal a lot with Israeli companies. And so if one of them is really a very good English speaker, that obviously helps in the international markets. What else can I say? I think, again, if they've been tested together, like a college roommate is a very common experience where we find people coming out of that as co-founders. Tanis and Stephen Ufford knew each other all the way back from high school. So that was even more testing. And they had also done 3 companies together. So what we often find, again, sometimes it's roommates from college or something like that. Other times it's people who work together at Salesforce or at Google or something like that. And they've had experience together and can size each other up and know where their skill sets merge and are reinforcing, and where they're divergent and they fill in a gap that's otherwise in that team.
Of course. Tanis?
Yeah, one of the things that I often, when I'm talking to co-founders, when they're looking for a potential partner, one of the main things that I ask them to do is actually look at themselves and take stock of themselves. And I think a lot of times when partners are looking, they often go very task or skill set oriented. I have a business idea, I need a technical founder. And I tend to ask them to step away a little bit from that and to actually do a little more self-assessment and look at, what is my personality style? A lot of times that I've seen, a failure of compatibility when you have, say, someone who's very high level and two people that are very high level thinkers, and they're not necessarily the kind to get deep and get detailed. And that is so essential in being able to really navigate the execution of a strong venture. So I often ask people to do what seems obvious, but like take those personality tests, find out what is your conflict, how do you handle conflict. These kind of questions really do actually translate into a partnership long term. So first starting with you and really identify, what do I need? And sometimes it's even as simple as capital. Maybe you have a poor credit rating and you know that you're going to need to be accessing capital, so that you might need somebody who can pick you up from that side. So it's more than just always the obvious. I call it's the obvious list. Oftentimes there's these much more subtle factors that actually play a really strong role in the strength of a partnership.
That sounds really hard because if I'm a founder, I can do everything. How do you get the founder to put the ego aside and then admit that there are some faults in their character?
Yeah. So the way I've learned is that heading into a partnership requires a ton of maturity. And oftentimes it is saying to someone, you know what, you got to bring down the ego a little. And in all levels, even just have a great relationship with your co-founder, that maturity level needs to be there. So I think as founders, the best thing we can do is recognize we're not great at everything. And it serves us long term because financially, if we think we can do everything, we'll fail. So really, it serves us to recognize where are we maybe a 4 or a 5. And then maybe that is the place where I need to find that person who can quote unquote complete me, and come in and fill those gaps. So you're absolutely right though, Matt. It is often about maturity and seeing the forest through the trees in that way.
David, I cut you off.
Well, Matthew, that's why I like this example of having worked together before or been in a roommate situation, because you've dealt sometimes obviously with conflict. And and we asked that question when we're interviewing, how have you dealt with a previous conflict? Give us, the blow by blow. What happened? How did you get through it? And then there's the generic questions for founders, whether they're single, double, triple, no matter what, grit, persistence, domain knowledge. I don't think I remember that you had 2 young kids at home. I did too at that point, but we both got through it. Now, what are the other constraints on your time and ability? Because a startup founding is very demanding. It really is, beyond 9 to 5. If you're thinking 9 to 5, you're not in the right sector. This is a consuming thing to get going, and it's that way for the first several years, I would say.
What about spouses? I know the startup House was founded by Audi Tatarko and her husband, right?
Yes.
Yeah, family in general is almost in many ways a whole other ball game. There's a lot of obviously interconnection between the personal life and the professional life. And again, one of the things that is so important is communication and communicating expectations and writing that stuff down. And it's all even more so with a spouse and saying, how are we going to navigate our home life versus our work life and our professional life? And what are the non-negotiables there? I know my husband and I, we could never work together. It just would never work. So, and recognizing that. But if it is something that you're going to do, then really, really, again, putting first and foremost communication, maybe even having an outside person that you can speak with on a regular basis where you can air out your frustrations in a way that will be not just accusatory, but actually, progressive and get you through these challenges that you're going to have. And don't be afraid to find a mediator or a professional or an excellent advisor who is really there, who has no vested interest in the business, but is there to actually help you navigate those relational issues that come in a professional life.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. What Tanis mentioned, advisors, also organizations that are there to support founders like YPO and other kinds of similar peer group organizations are very good, because it's also lonely being a founder, whether you're in a team like Tanis and Stephen Ufford were, or just a solo founder or trio, whatever, it's still lonely because the whole company that works with you, for you, they're in a different position. There are things that only you're going to want to talk about together or think about or make decisions about. So it can be very lonely and frustrating if you don't have with whom to communicate. So I urge that. There are a couple other things. Usually there's this nepotism, we have a bias against nepotism in venture capital. So we had rules. We're not going to fund husband, wife, father, daughter, father, son, brother. We've done everything. We've had every confabulation possible, I think. Some of them have worked out great. Others have been flameouts. It's just like the human experience. And so whether that, it's just an extra layer to be concerned about. If you're VC and you're thinking about, oh, gee, they're, husband and wife, they're going to always vote together on some issue. What if one of them doesn't make it and you need to really remove one? Well, then the other spouse is probably going to side with their spouse. It can get messy. So those things, again, try and think it through in advance. If it's got that extra layer of complication of a familial relationship, then that should try and be dealt with ahead of time to the extent possible.
Now, what? Let's say you're starting a tech company in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Michigan. How do you find a?
That's not nowhere.
I can say that joke because I live there. What resources or events should people go to?
Yeah, one of the things that I say first and foremost, from just my experience of interviewing founders in so many different ways, is beginning the uncomfortable act of putting yourself out there. A lot of times I've talked to people who said, oh, I mentioned to somebody an idea and they recommended somebody to me. And again, it's not always the case, but I think that being able and willing to say, here's what I'm working on. Hey, Joe, do you know anybody with a skill set? And then you get that layer of filtering that kind of comes through. And someone says, yeah, I know somebody who's looking for an opportunity. So I think that a lot of people underestimate their current network and the network of the people around them. So you really utilizing that. I have found a surprising amount of success for founders who are looking for people to just go out there and just say, here's what I'm doing. Do you know somebody? And a lot of times people try and go to maybe meetups or online events that offer the ability to meet other co-founders, which are amazing. And I highly recommend that as well. But there's also a much more homegrown way that you can actually look for people. And that is by utilizing your network.
I have a lot to say on this topic. I'll try and be brief and organized. So number one, there are several dimensions under which one can think about this topic. One is in the domain. So whatever your area of work is, say you're doing radar, I don't know. So you'd want to go to the radar conventions, all right? But then you also want to go to horizontal founder kinds of conventions, things like the TechCrunch does, right? You guys do great events that are all kinds of folks across a whole variety of domains. So you're going to learn more about skills and funding mechanisms and terms and who are good VCs and so on and so forth and who are the bad VCs. And so that's the horizontal. And then there's this technical domain. So both are useful. I think sometimes it's good to put yourself out there, as Tanis said, but in a very formal way, to speak, get on a panel, do a keynote, write a white paper, do a podcast. That shows that you have something to say to the world. And every entrepreneur does that. You by definition, as an entrepreneur founder, you're saying there's a problem that's unsolved and I or my team and I have figured out something that is a way forward. We're going to make human life better in some serious way. Hopefully the people are going to actually even pay for it, but that's a good thing. Capitalism is the best social program ever invented. And so what we like to see is that people who are, making their own future, making their own luck, but they're working hard at it. And so they have many at-bats. You want to really try and get out there.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Then one more thing, there's also now, LinkedIn and these incredible networking tools, and you'd be surprised how people can be responsive. Some are not, but that's okay too. And some people are very busy, but if you keep knocking on doors, a number of them will open that you would have never expected to in the past. And then always the best question at the end of any sort of diligence or thing is, who else should I talk to?
Yeah. Yeah, that's key.
Always.
Tanis, any other resources out there?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many different options. I do have a book that just is coming out called the Cofounder's Handbook, and it really does cover all the stages that co-founders can find themselves in. And so I have probably, it's almost third of the book is really dedicated to that whole processes of self-analysis. Then where do I go? And we do have a whole exhaustive list of all the different places where you can look at, and then how to engage. Sometimes people come in and they just plop down a massive business, plan and say, here's what I'm going to do. But that leaves no space for that person on the other side to be creative themselves and to come in with their opportunities. So we even walk through that. How do you approach somebody? How do you, instead of coming in like you're like going to marry them right off the bat, how do you come in gracefully and share your vision and allow them to come in and add their piece if that's something that excites them? So there's a whole process. And then of course, at the end, how do you finalize it legally? How do you put these contracts together that really foresee future issues? And how do you come into all of that? And how do you make that work? So the process is not just finding them, but it's then vetting them and then securing them and then starting that journey. The whole portion in the beginning is just as big as the journey itself.
Now, you talked about making contracts, and there's equity distribution with founding a company as well. How do you advise startups to divide that between founders?
Yeah, so I think some of the key elements are obviously investment. How much is everybody? That's a simple way of doing it. If someone's coming in with all the capital into the investment, or if you're sharing it, that's one element to look at. There's also time commitment. There's who brought the idea in. Was there any work pre-done that can be that needs to be brought in and recognized in equity? One of the key things that I do say to people, though, however you end up doing that equity split, I would recommend a vesting period, and that just protects you. Whether it's 3 years, 4 years, that just protects you should something happen in the next 12 to 24 months, and one founder just is like, hey, I'm out for any myriad of reasons. Mm-hmm. You're not losing all that equity in one fell swoop. You actually have a recognition of the work done, but you're not actually giving all of that away. So, finding out what those equity factors are is also, of course, very important, but adding that vesting on top of it is really, really key.
I agree with that. David?
Mm-hmm.
I agree as well. And there are a few things. There's also this concept of getting outside of yourself, because when you're a founder as an individual, you have your own individual rights and responsibilities and goals and drive and so on. There's also this role that you have as a leader of a company, and the company has its own dynamics, and you need to be a fiduciary in many cases, especially as a director. Many people don't understand that distinction. But for example, as a venture capitalist, we are a shareholder, but if we're on the board and we can vote our shares in our own interest, nobody can tell us what to do. We can vote any way we want. As a board of directors member, you have to really do what's best for the company in what's called reasonable business judgment. Now, that's a broad set of reasonableness, but if you're doing something that's just purely selfish and it hurts the company, that can be questioned in court and it can get messy. So I urge everybody who's a founder to think that you not only have your own personal goals, but you also have this stewardship goal of running the company for the best interest of the whole entity. And sometimes that'll mean different from your own best interest. It might be best if you actually leave the company for the company to survive. I'm going to dramatic, but it happens. So I like the idea of vesting. We sometimes ask for that as revesting, when we're doing a term sheet, because we can say, wait a minute, if these guys are fully vested, they can just walk out the door the next day. They've got the money. They still will benefit if the company does well, but we don't have their oomph, their drive, their vision, their work product to help it. So this is a thing. It's called, always think about this, alignment of values. If we are more aligned, it'll be better. That's why early stage venture capitalists, Blumberg Capital, is almost always the first investor in it. And so we're very closely aligned with the founders. They have common stock. We have preferred A generally. Now, once you get way up the stack and you're going farther down the road, Series C, Series D, they have different time horizons. They might have different interests, and you can get syndicate divergence. So that's another important thing. You didn't ask about it, but I'll just mention for founders, you got to watch out. Make sure that your VCs or strategics or angels are somewhat compatible to the most extent possible. Again, alignment is good. You want to be coordinated and firing for the same goal. Otherwise, you'll be pulled in multiple directions that are incompatible.
Matt,
that's great advice.
Could I also just add in here that it's also, as a founder, when you are offering equity to a co-founder, there's been so many that I've interviewed who said that it was the fact that they were equal or close to equal that kept their partner in through the hard times. I mean, entrepreneurship is an extremely difficult journey. Yes. So it's not the time to be stingy or greedy about your equity, because you really want that person, when it's a difficult time, you want them to have enough vested interest that they're like, you know what, I'm going to push through this because it's worth it. But if you hand somebody a 5-10% for something, you got to understand that it may not be enough to hold them through during those hard times. And again, like I've said, I've interviewed multiple founders, and many of them said, I don't think we would have been able to keep going and push through. I think they would have just up and left me holding everything if they didn't have the same amount of equity, or at least something sufficient enough to hold them in. So again, those are the things to think about.
I think that's great advice. You're all in it together, and you need to make sure that you're stamping out issues before they become big issues, right? If you give everyone similar equity, that works out. What I would like to do now is we have some questions from the audience. So I'm going to read these things. We have 3 of them right now. And I think we have time for 3 or 4. The first one, David, specifically to you, Jan says, I'm also wondering how VCs assess solo founders who choose to work with the industry partner companies instead of bringing on a co-founder at early stages.
It's a little bit harder row to hoe, as they say. I am a single solo founder for my firm, Blumberg Capital. So, here I am, guilty as charged, and it's worked out just fine. But not everyone can do everything, and generally you're stronger in a group. Now, it may be fine for you. This is very fact-based determination. If you really have all the right skill sets, and you can verify that by outside third parties telling you, oh, you've got what it all takes, then you're probably going to be fine as a solo founder. That said, there are far more companies that are founded by teams than by solo. So I think the data show that generally not everyone has everything that's needed, but if you can do it. Now, you mentioned something, Jan, about specifically industry partner. I don't know exactly what that means. But if they're a full-time person in the company, that's one thing. If this is a strategic investor, for example, and they're offering you, license to some key technology, that's part of the battle, but there's so much more. And I don't know your circumstances, but I would say, have a consult with yourself, dig deep down, do that, hard questions that only you know the answer to, but ask those hard questions to yourself before you set out on the journey.
Great. Tanis?
Yeah, I think as the rule goes, you will lose access to some investors because you're a solopreneur. That's just the way it is. I've never met any who says I do not invest in teams, but I have definitely met VCs and investors and angels who all say I don't even pick up the phone. I don't even talk to them. So you do need to understand that you are, shrinking the size of the pool of investors that you can go to. But again, if you're able to demonstrate an incredible team around you, if it's never is never. So it's possible. But again, I think you definitely need to shore up, what's going to happen if you're hit by the proverbial bus? Who's that person that if you can demonstrate you've got this key person who really has the chops, they're not my co-founder, but they've got the chops to, take that ball and run with it. Those are the things that mitigate the risk to the investors. And I think that's extremely, important, but yeah.
Yeah. Well said. Okay. It's the next one here. What's the best way to find a co-founder if there's no common school or college? Now, David, you're telling me about an event earlier. Can you tell us about that here?
Yes, our team in Israel did an event specifically how to find a co-founder. And you say, oh, that's easy, just invite people, drinks at a bar and so on. No, this was actually much more complicated because there's people who are at jobs where they can't go out high profile and say, oh, I'm looking around, because the bosses and their teams will be kind of, oh, that guy's leaving. So people had to sign NDAs, and we tried to get a good mix of technical founders looking for a business partner and the other way around, a business partner looking for somebody technical. But we did this event and it was oversubscribed when we sort of did some invitation only, and then other people heard about it and wanted to come. And a couple matches came out of that. And there are those not just done by our firm, but I've heard of them, bingo, not founder bingo, but founder meetups. And then again, the network system is good to look again in the domain where you know people from that topic that you're solving. And then also this horizontal one, other founders know other folks. And that's another good thing to do. Founders know good founders. Mm-hmm. Startup CEOs know good CEOs. We get the best recommendations from our existing portfolio CEOs and their lieutenants. We get tremendously great insights there, because they can also tell us this person is a great founder and they're really good at X. This is their super strength.
That's good advice. Now, Tanis, I'm going to cut you off. We're going to ask another question too.
Okay.
So I think this is a really, really interesting one. Brian needs an approach because he lost one of his co-founders. So what do you do when a co-founder bails?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the first thing you want to do is protect your corporate culture. There's going to be a lot of, chatting at the water cooler. And so that would be the first thing, is definitely make sure that there's a confidence return back to your team. Make sure that you're explaining to everybody, you don't have to go into the nitty gritty of what happened, but you definitely should recognize that this is a key player that left. But here's how we are going to rally together, really making sure that whatever roles that they were handling are going to be covered. And that's really the main key. And then as a founder who's remaining, you really have to ask yourself that question, like, is this something that I can do, or is this a pivot point now for my company? And for some businesses, when a co-founder leaves, it really can be a nail in the coffin. So the question is, how do you've got to find people around you, professionals who can help you navigate that next piece of your business. And then of course too, you can always look inward, look within your company. Is there someone that you can bring up that's within the ranks that you can offer that position to? It is difficult. So you really got to calm down, grab your head, really start to, think about, okay, what's the next step? But focus on your culture now. Focus on talking to your suppliers, your vendors, all these people who are going to start hearing around, oh, so-and-so left. Calm their concerns, and then prepare to address the next part.
Matthew, if I can camp on her big shoulders, this is very common. Mm-hmm. It happens. We have 8 unicorns that we've been lucky enough, and we're grateful to have backed from earliest stage. In, I think, 6 or 7 out of the 8, there was either some kind of split up of the founder team, or the CEO eventually was replaced by a kind of a managerial CEO from the first founder CEO. So it's very common. Sometimes you can use the VCs as helping. I just did this speech to the all hands the other day when the CEO left, and we had to kind of, as Tanis said, shore up the troops and assure everybody this is not a layoff, this is a one-off, for its own reasons. And we tried to explain what we could. There's sometimes when you can't because of legal issues or lawsuits or stuff you can't talk about, but we tried to do the best we could to reassure people. And that's an important part of it too. But I think the one other thing that's needs to be said is that what were that person's super strengths, and how do you shore that up? Do you need an exact replacement? Sometimes they were doing so much, you need to hire 2 people to take what they were doing. So find out what they were really good at. Maybe there's some defects, but forget those. What was the good part that's now missing, and you need to patch that part of your ship.
Matt, can I say one real quick thing too? Is I always tell founders from the very beginning, be prepared for your co-founder to leave. And that means in the beginning, have these conversations, have the legal documents that if someone leaves, you're not scrambling going, what are we going to do? It's an uncomfortable conversation in the beginning because it's kind of a wet blanket and a really optimistic time in your business. But these are the conversations that you have, and you flat out say, what are we going to do if one of us gets sick, one of us dies, or one walks out? And just make that plan ahead of time, because in some form or another, eventually the partnership will dissolve in a good way or a bad way. But so if you prepare ahead of time, that's not as scary. So it doesn't help the gentleman who asked the question who's going through it now. But for any early founders now, really take that time to be prepared for whatever circumstance is going to go.
And this is, again, to emphasize the point, this is why vesting is so useful, and it aligns interests. If they're fully vested and they walk out the door, no skin off their back, thank you very much. Everybody else then has to work with a diminished cap table, and there's less to go around for the new worker bees that are going to try and devote themselves to this task.
Well, this is great advice today. I really enjoyed this conversation. It's one of the deepest topics we've got into. So thank you both for revealing all this stuff. This is fantastic. What I'll do from here is publish this video tomorrow with a whole list of things that you give advice, but so it's not lost or buried in one of these videos. But we're going to switch gears. We have a few more minutes with you guys. We have 25 more minutes, and we have 3 companies that are ready to pitch you both. We call this pitch practice, and the goal is just to hear a pitch. I want founders to come on and pitch us, and then we're going to get feedback on the pitch. We're not going to give advice on the company itself or product market fit or anything like that. We just want to hear your storytelling abilities. Now, we have 3 companies waiting. I'm going to try to find my sheet as I talk here. Okay, first one we have Dan Locke. Dan, I see you.
Hi
there. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Well, you have 2 minutes. There should be a timer there. Go ahead and start your pitch, and we'll talk in a second.
My name's Dan Locke, co-founder and CEO of Give, where our vision is philanthropy in every business meeting. Give was hatched at Fenway Park in 2021 with my co-founder and best friend, Jeremy Funk. We met the first day of college at Brandeis University in 1998. We discussed how the mix of business and charity led to the most fulfilling business connections. So we created Give to be the first video meeting platform to combine business, volunteering, and philanthropy. U.S. philanthropy is at an all-time high at nearly $500 billion and more than 50% of global charity. At the same time, corporate social responsibility is indispensable to business. Survey data shows that more than 90% of employees are more likely to recommend their company, and more than 90% of Gen Z want to buy from companies that align with causes. The problem that we're solving is that it's hard to connect with senior business people. They're already in more than 220 million business meetings a year, comprising more than 50% of their working day on average, and are unlikely to respond on LinkedIn, email, or phone. On Give, businesses can achieve social responsibility objectives with the same budget they're already planning to spend on operations. Give enhances the value of a donation by adding business incentives, such as getting a sales meeting or getting business expertise. Experts join to give back, providing advice, volunteering, and raising money for nonprofits, all which result in positive brand recognition for them and businesses they work for. The demand side is simple. Users search across our network of profiles for a business leader, donate to that user's selected charity, schedule a time, and meet over video, all from within the Give platform. In terms of traction, we announced a soft launch just last week at a startup networking event and have had 50 business leaders sign up already. Our iOS and Android apps should be live in about a month, but we're live online on the web. We're looking to spread awareness to our platform and to start facilitating meetings, empowering the next generation of charitable donors while mixing business.
Thank you so much, Dan. You're right on the money. Okay, Tanis, let's start with you. Any feedback?
Yeah, that was great. That was extremely thorough. I really appreciated all of that.
Thank you.
I'd be interested a little bit about the charities that get involved. What is the uptake, and maybe sharing a little bit about why charities could get involved as well in this, and what is the upside for them?
Sure. So nonprofits, most of their marketing comes from events. They're still kind of in the early stages of moving online when it comes to growing their set of new donors. About, I'd say 80% of donations come from 20% of donors. So the incentive here is for people to meet over business, but they'll be donating to a charity that they would have otherwise not donated to. So it leads to incremental donations.
Yeah, I think her advice here is you got to talk about both parties.
Yeah.
Because I would like to know why they're getting benefit too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, David, any advice?
Sure. I don't know if TechCrunch enabled you, but I always like to see graphics in a presentation, and maybe that was not part of the format, but and then I would sit a little bit further back from the camera, just
Sure.
and light on your face. See, I have light on my face. You got light from behind, and so lighting in front. We're told to comment on the pitch, not on the business. I do want to say something really strong, and I want everyone to just say yes. Let's hear it for America. That was a stunning statistic that America gives 50% of the world's charitable contributions. Yeah. I just calculated we're 4% of the world's population. Good for Americans. That's amazing. When we're feeling down, we should feel really proud about that. So good on you to find it. It's an interesting pitch. I'll do one comment, the content one. I don't know, you probably have experience on it, how much people have to give to get a meeting with a CEO or something like that. Their time is super valuable. So unless these donations are relatively large, which most people probably who are startups can't do, I don't know how it's going to work. But there's some point where they'll do it. Maybe they would do it for a group. Like you could have if 50 of you give together, I'll meet with the 50 of you, something like that.
Well, the business leader gets to see the agenda, so they can see if it's a good fit. They can reject the meeting if it's not a good fit at all. We've got some benchmarks where there are already companies offering things like gift cards and other things of monetary value to get business meetings. But in this case, the business leader gets something out of it in that they're volunteering to support a nonprofit that they care about, while also promoting brand recognition for themselves and for their company at the same time. Yeah,
it's the asymmetry of this marketplace that has me questioning. But if you work on that, you can, there are ways of fixing asymmetries and making it bolstering one side and reducing the friction cost on the other side.
Cool.
Thank you so much for that, Dan. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
One other thing, you spoke very quickly. Yeah. I would try and speak a little slower.
Okay.
Variation in voice tone. Some points you want to emphasize, other points you want to go a little softer. That's just good in general. Matthew can tell us all about that.
and I got to say, Dan, we made David put a light in front of him. We had him run around his house to find a light.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Dan.
There's one more trick. You know about this? When you're on video, wear a plain blue shirt. No patterns, no lines.
Oh, that's why I wear black, but.
Okay, well, we're gonna jump to the next one. Keep in touch, Dan. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Good luck. Keep on giving.
Yeah, that's great. Next one, we have Luez. He's here from Stockash. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Matthew. We are from
Very good.
Stockash.
All right, sir. Well, you have 2 minutes to present your company starting now.
Okay. Hi, I'm Luiz Gidrão. I'm founder and CEO of Stockash. I'm from São Paulo, Brazil, and Stockash, the name itself, tells what the company do, because we have stocks and we give people's cash. So we are here to democratize employees' access to liquidity of their private shares in the smartest and simple way. So the opportunity here, our mission is to help late-stage startups employees to unlock and maximize their ESOP value through a benefit called liquidity as a service with a credit solution. So the problem are most startups leave money on the table because they don't have money to convert the stock option. So maybe their stock option are already vested and at the money or deep in the money. And the other problem is that they already maybe converted the equity, but they don't have liquidity to do things just in normal life. We can have a study here that shows that 86% of employees' average net worth is the stock itself. We have a B2B2C solution. We have two products. One for converted vested option, and the other two to converted equity. We have a market here in Latam, an untapped market of all companies here in Latam doesn't have access to this kind of product. We only have competitors in US. We don't have competitors at Europe or even Asia. So it's very simple. Stock Cash gives people money against their stocks. Sorry for my English and my nervousness.
Yeah, no, that was very good. Your English was great. Don't apologize for that. Okay, Dave, let's start with you.
Yeah, and so if you apologize for your English, then we have to take away your charm being Brazilian. So
That's right.
I wouldn't give it up. And I like the two guitars in the background and your credentials at some fancy university. So it shows you're a Renaissance man. That's very good. Bad lighting. Your lighting should be on your beautiful face. Okay. I'm not a big fan of the headset look, but it maybe allows you to hear better. I think that the pitch was well delivered. Again, you speak fast, as do we all. Everyone should just take a couple deep breaths before you do anything in life. It's really good mantra to follow. In terms of the idea itself, it's a very interesting idea. There are a lot of financial complexities in terms of tax and corporate bylaws, which may facilitate or hinder or entirely block these kinds of things. So you've probably figured some of that out. In the presentation, you could go a little bit further in explaining that we've thought through this and we have plans, because you can imagine some companies are very adverse to people exercising like this and selling out early. They want you to be there through the end when there's a final exit for everyone altogether. So it can cut both ways. It does give employees liquidity early when they need to buy a house, perhaps, something, but it detracts from what we call alignment, where everyone is rowing with the same oars in the same water toward this goal of getting the company big and public or whatever. So a little bit more explanation of how you've thought through those technical issues. The cross frontier issues are a big one, because the regulations differ country to country. I'll stop there, but it's a great presentation so far.
Tanis?
Thank you for your feedback.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely applaud your confidence in, I know Portuguese is probably your native tongue, and your willingness to, come out. I think that's so important. Just a couple of things. I mean, first is placement of your camera as well. You're a little low. I'm looking at that. That's never a good look for anyone. So just, keeping your camera right in front of you like this, so that we really get to see, we're not distracted by different sundry things. And the other thing is too, this is a 2-minute blast about your business, the quote unquote elevator pitch. And I think that this is something, and I know our nerves are there and stuff like that, but being able to memorize and really hone that message about your business, it's really worth sitting down for a few days and working on it, putting pen to paper and saying, what is that 2 minutes that if I literally have somebody incredible in front of me, that I can just blurt out the key points and such. And then that way you have that ability to be yourself, to be your personality, because it's memorized. And like David said to the previous guy, your punctuation, you can blast those important things and throw those things. So it's just not just a memorizing and looking off screen to read. Really, this is your business. This is your future. Being able to communicate that and be excited about it will draw in investors, and it will draw in people to your mission as well. So
here's a way to think about it. Think about it like you're making an offer to marry someone.
Oh,
you wouldn't want to read it, would you? You want to be very sincere.
Yeah.
You want to look right to the camera, right in her eyes, and be sincere and meaningful. Pause at the right times. You wouldn't read it off a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's great advice. And when you practice it, you can do it in 2 languages or more, maybe.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I can barely do English. All right. Well, thank you so much for presenting your company, and keep in touch. And please feel free to reapply. We can have you back on with the revised pitch too.
Obrigado.
Obrigado.
Ciao, ciao.
Okay, we have one more. We have Paul. Paul is coming to us from Heartlight LLC. And I've been putting all these URLs in the hop-in if you're in there too, so you can click right through. Paul, I see you.
Hi.
Hi there, sir. All right, you have 2 minutes to present your company starting now.
Thank you. Like most people, I used to avoid thinking about death. But then my brother got cancer, and he asked me to help him to have a dignified death. I looked for a way that I could help my family find some comfort after his death, because the hard part isn't the dying, not that that isn't challenging, obviously, but it's the days and months and years afterwards, the separation anxiety that lingers in those that remain. And being a technologist, I looked for a tech solution. I recorded his heartbeat, and then I built a device to play it back in a visible way. After Terry's death, I presented the first Heartlight to our mother and father. They were deeply moved. And my father was normally stoic, was visibly affected. My mother wept with joy and appreciation. And I knew then that I had to bring this product to everyone who might want it. I was running an early startup at the time focused on innovative wearable technology, and we pivoted and focused on this new product. We raised some money from friends and family and ran a crowdfunding campaign to verify interest. But our timing was unfortunate, and we were nearly tanked by COVID. We were forced to downsize, and I've been working on a shoestring budget to continue doing what I can to bring Heartlight into the world. The hardware was redesigned to work around supply chain issues, and now we have a design that can be manufactured quickly and at scale. We think there are customers in a wide range of market segments, not just death care, where we know there's strong interest, but pet care, mental wellness, personal gifting, and so on. A couple of retailers like Sharper Image have reached out directly and want to add Heartlight to their catalog. So we know we have some sales channels. And I'm currently looking for another founder with business expertise, looking to raise capital to finish bringing our products to market, and looking for feedback and help from startup savvy folks like yourself.
That's awesome.
All right, Paul, that was very good. Thank you. And for listeners, if you're not watching, the URL is heartlight.me. And I think it would really help if you take a look at the device that Paul is building here. Okay.
Yeah. I have it. I could have shown it, but you said no visual cues. So.
Oh, it's okay. Let's see it.
Yeah.
Hold it up there.
I'll just turn it on here.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, beautiful.
And so this
Tanis?
is a heartbeat that's been recorded using the heart wand.
Yeah, so I'm glad you showed that, and I didn't know what the parameters were, because that would have been my first thing. Is like, I really want to see it, and maybe if you can't show it, just a visual description of what. I didn't know if it was like a picture or something, whatever what it was. So just a description, even if you can't show it. It's a ball that has this heartbeat. That really, because I didn't really understand what that was part. But what you did incredibly well, Paul, and I think any founder who's about to pitch, was that story in the beginning. It just really was very personal. It was very gripping. You really took us through a journey that helped us to see was something that unfortunately we're all going to touch at some point in our lives. And so that was an excellent piece of it. Maybe it went a bit too long because it cut into the time where you were able to then ask questions or tell us more information about the market, or maybe a little more in depth about some of the challenges and some of the successes you've had. That would be really good as well. So, but all in all, I think that, how you started was really, really great, and just a little more description would be wonderful.
Thank you.
David, to you.
And I'll start with the fact that you have very good lighting on your face. For a lighting designer, that's a good thing. So that's number one. Number two, I also was very gripped by your compelling story, and I'm sorry for your loss of your brother. It's a beautiful tribute that you not only helped him through his death, but then you built a new innovation to help your parents and so on. That said, as a venture capitalist, I think you have to be very cautious about who you're going to be approaching. I don't want you to waste a lot of time. I don't think this is generally a venture capital typical likelihood for funding in the current model. I thought you were going to start to do something which I've started to see, which is all the services that gets one ready for death, or your will in one place, and a living testament, and all kinds of burial procedures, and all that services, which are a big deal, and it's a lot of money is spent on it. So if you go into that whole thing, then it's something that maybe a venture firm would be interested in. Products, especially hardware products that are consumer items that can be returned, and there's inventory costs, all that, is typically not a thing that most venture firms that I know deal with. There are some that do this, and there are more angels and specialty distributors that might be appropriate for you. So look at that carefully so you don't waste time and you can get success. Now, I don't exactly know why COVID would have stopped it, because people were at home. I hate to say this, but people were still dying, even in excessive numbers. And so I'm not sure that's a good excuse. Maybe there's something else that you need to look at. And that's a very important part of being an entrepreneur, is to self-search and say, wait a minute, I believe in this, but do other people, and do enough people? And I can see some people saying, oh, I like this for a short period of time, but do I want this for 10 years on my desk or in my living room? Or do I have to explain it every time I have people over? Oh, that's the heartbeat of my brother. It might get awkward, and there's the beauty side of it, and then there's also the TMI side of it, if you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. So those are a few points. I thought your presentation was clear. I agree with Tanis. Maybe the story was excellent, but a little bit, maybe too much story for the time we had left.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I don't know if we didn't, nobody did it. And I don't know if this is the point where they would, but, letting us know what the ask is, how much are you looking to raise? I mean, that's a really important question, I think, as well. So none of the previous pitchers did that either. I'd be curious to know what you're raising, et cetera, too. So. Yeah,
I'm looking for 1 million. That gets us to a finished product and about 5,000 units manufactured. Yeah. And that was the challenge with COVID, was we weren't able to raise capital at that time. Everybody was heads down. It's not that it wasn't perfectly appropriate, but we just couldn't raise the capital. That was the challenge there. But thank you for your point, David, about being careful with that, excuse. Thank you.
That's great. All right. Well, this has been great. And Paul, thank you for presenting that. I think it's really interesting myself. Well, everyone, that concludes today's episode. And next week, we're taking next week off. But the following week, we have a very special episode with Kleiner Perkins, Mamoon Hammond, and then Ariana Huffington from Thrive Global. And Ariana used to be my boss years ago. So that's fun. Okay, friends. Well, thank you so much. And we'll see you guys next time.
Keep on founding.
Bye.